What looked like a normal hotel from the outside had something so sinister hiding in one of its rooms in plain sight. Today, we are going to talk about most disturbing mysteries solved by the internet, starting with number 1, Mysterious Mirror. Hotel Zaza is located in Houston in Texas and is frequently visited for business and leisure purposes. From outside, it looks like a good premium hotel featuring normal rooms for people to stay, relax, and enjoy. However, other than the normal rooms, there was one very weird specific room. In 2013, a Reddit user named Joe Likes Music visited this hotel with his colleague. He was a frequent visitor of this hotel and knew the usual layout and decoration of the rooms. But unfortunately, on that day, the hotel was nearly full, and so he and his colleague was assigned a rather strange room. While the OP received a normal Zaza room, his colleague was given a gothic style room with very strange and disturbing paintings. The room had a chain holding the bed to the wall, pictures of skulls, and a creepy portrait of an old man. But the most strange and disturbing fact was there was a big giant mirror embedded in the wall directly over the bed. While you may think it was for some fun and kinky activities, the mirror very suspiciously looked like a two-way mirror. When his colleague asked the front desk about the room, they immediately moved into a new room, saying the old one wasn't supposed to be rented. This raised a lot of questions and left him and his friend unsettled. And then he posted about this room on Reddit. Many theories started to arise, with people speculating the room to be a kink room or a secret room within the hotel. But nobody could solve it or gather more information until over 6 years later, a Reddit user named J Pago visited the same hotel and finally debunked the mystery. Firstly, he started on what bugged him the most, the two-way mirror. He was very curious to find out what was behind the mirror and if it was actually a kink room, and so he started his tests.
And one of the things that I want to do is show you guys mirror here. I know that's been the subject of a lot of people's questions and things like that. There's a couple of tests that you can do. One of them is the fingernail test. So here's the fingernail test here. My finger is right up against the glass, and anyway, you can see my finger right there. There's a gap between the reflective surface and my fingernail. So, although this isn't definitive, the glass test, the fingernail test, basically says that if your fingernail is right up against the reflective surface, if there isn't like a glass barrier, then it's for sure a two-way mirror. Another thing you can do too is you can knock on the glass and see if there's like a hollow sound or if there's like a dull thud. So let's go ahead and do that right now here. So it sounds pretty thuddy to me, if that's a word. There's nothing that's telling me that there's anything behind this mirror at all.
After conducting all of the tests, he concluded that the mirror was not two-way, but something far more disturbing. As he was checking out of the hotel, he noticed that there was a staff room besides the room 322. But the disturbing part was the room was exactly at the side where the mirror was. This made him grow suspicious. Does the staff room lead to an observation room behind the mirror? To get answers, he opened the door and found a secret padlock door, perfectly positioned like you could get inside the room from the mirror. Now, unfortunately, he couldn't open the padlock door right now, but surprisingly, he was able to get a blueprint of the entire room from a blog post. And to his surprise, there was a secret room behind the mirror. This matched exactly with the secret padlock door in the staff room. Now, it was very clear that there was a room that was connected to the mirror, but what kind of room was it? Based on the kind of room 322 was, it was very likely that it could be either a secret room or an observation room to see or record people. But then, he finally gathered the last piece of evidence. After further investigation, the room simply turned out to be a bathroom. Just besides the room 322 was a room 321, and for some reason, room 321's bathroom was very weirdly placed behind the 322's mirror. So basically, all of the Redditors spent all of these years just to find a weirdly placed bathroom. But that was not all. Well, you may ask, why was the room designed that way? Turns out it was actually the owner's room. In fact, it was designed according to him, and that probably explains the weird style. Not judging though. Number 2. The Unknown Man. This is a case about a mysterious young man sadly passing away in a completely disconnected manner to the world. The cops tried everything in their hands to identify him, but they never succeeded. That was until 17 years later his identity was finally solved. On September 13, 2001, just 2 days after the September 11 attacks, a young man apparently named Lyle Stevick walked into the Quinault Inn, a motel in Washington. He arrived there on September 14th and stayed there for nearly 3 days, occasionally going outside. But then on September 17th, his body was found hanging lifeless inside a cupboard closet. Nobody knew why he did it, but it was a very heartbreaking sight to see. As the cops went to identify him, something that was literally impossible happened. His fingerprint records didn't match with any identity. Usually when bodies are identified, they go through a rigorous process to make sure they are correct. But this man planned every tiny step. During his stay, he was seen occasionally by motel staff. He did not eat at any nearby restaurants, made no phone calls, and had no visitors. He was, in fact, in every sense, a person completely disconnected from the world. And if you take a look at the motel room, it unfortunately offered investigators with very little to no evidence. He had no luggage, no notes, no credit cards, no phone, no wallet. And after several tries, they failed to find his identity with his items. Then they turned towards missing person cases. It was very likely that if a person had gone missing, he would most likely be one of them. But sadly, there was not a single case that matched the description of his. In a world of over 300 million people, nobody filed a report for this person. It was very sad because either the loved ones were in the misconception that he had settled, or even worse, they sadly didn't exist. At the end, the investigators did everything they could in the early 2000s, but nothing could be solved. But then, something finally picked up. By the mid-2010s, a revolution was quietly happening in cold case forensics, which was genetic genealogy. The technique of using DNA profile to build family trees and trace unknown individuals through their relatives. Finally, in April 2018, they announced Lyle Stevick had been identified. A case going for 17 years was finally closed. The family of the man was contacted, and in a very respectable decision, his real name was never publicly released. Number 3. Mysterious notes on walls. Consider yourself in a situation. You're going through your normal day in your house, then you're about to sit at your workplace, and then you find this. A post-it note with some errands you have to do. While it seems normal, the handwriting isn't actually yours. In fact, you never really remember writing it. You decide to investigate, and the only person that comes in your mind is your landlord. You remember that you got a note when you moved in, and surprisingly, the handwriting matches exactly. What would you do? About 11 years ago, a redditor named R. Bradbury in 1920 was going about his day until he met a yellow post-it note on his desk reminding him some errands he had to do. While it seemed normal, the handwriting wasn't actually his, and he did not even remember putting the note on his desk, which is exactly like your situation. But instead of investigating like you did, he threw it off casually, thinking that he might have done it mid-sleep, but that nearly costed him his entire life. On another day, it happened again on 19th of April, just 3 days later, and this time it wanted him to make sure he saved his documents. Now, what was going on? Who was writing these messages? The OP finally got worried. 3 letters and he didn't write it. Who could it be? There was no sign of breaking into the house, and he had certainly not written the letters while sleeping. Since he was living in an apartment, the only person that came to his mind was his landlord. To capture some evidence, he set up a camera to record everything, and then this happened. On 28th of April, the note appeared again, but this time it said something heart-dropping. Our landlord isn't letting me talk to you, but it's important we do. Immediately terrified, he checked his cameras only to find nothing. He discovered that the recordings the webcam captured were emptied in the trash bin, but he didn't remember doing so. This was incredibly concerning, as if he is not doing anything, then was it his landlord? The only two contradictions to this assumption is, first, there was no sign of break-in, and second, why would the landlord remind him to do some errands, or maybe save his documents? In an attempt to find some evidence, he pulled out a letter that he received while moving in by the landlord, and with no surprise, the handwriting matched exactly with the yellow notes. He finally put the nail in the coffin. Time to sue the landlord. He turned to Reddit to ask for some legal advice, but strangely, instead of receiving advice for suing the landlord, he, or now the OP, received a comment asking some unrelated but crucial questions. The comment suggested that it might be the OP himself who was writing all of these notes and then forgetting, something that even the OP was surprised to hear. But the next thing he asked was if OP was having some bad headaches, to which the OP surprisingly replied yes. And then finally, he asked the OP if there was a carbon monoxide detector lying with him. Well, why was the comment asking him about carbon monoxide instead of giving some legal advice? But nonetheless, the OP had a detector lying around and he plugged it in, not expecting what was going to happen. The reader showed 100 ppm, which is a lot more than safe human consumption. Then everything clicked. He was, in fact, writing the notes and then forgetting everything. He was about to sue his landlord for stalking, not realizing he was dying. For those who don't know, carbon monoxide is a very dangerous and a poisonous gas. Its symptoms include headaches, dizziness, confusion, and much more. So this gas was no joke. If he had not posted a Reddit thread of the entire situation, he might have lost his entire life. It is absolutely crazy that a single commenter and his yellow notes saved his entire life. At the end, he did eventually solve everything out. Well, that was the entire video. I hope you find some entertainment and some valuable information. Have a great day ahead, my friend.